Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, uplifting industrial synthwave might surprise you if you haven't checked it out. My friend and dad joke enthusiast David Pataconi is my guest today. I have Dave Pataconi here. Hey man, hello. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Do you go by Dave or David?
Anything but late for dinner.
Okay.
So David, that'll work.
Hey, yeah. David.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I am a Jesus freak. I love the Lord. He's saved me from so much. I am a musician, a producer, a vocalist, I kind of play a little bit of everything. I'm an engineer. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I am a child of the Most High.
Man. Tell us about your genre of music.
It's kind of a mix of 80s and 90s. So it's kind of synthwave. It's kind of grunge. It's kind of industrial. I've had some people describe it as if Depeche Mode and Nine Inch Nails had a musical baby. And then you just throw in hopefulness and Christ and, salvation and the gospel. That's pretty much what it is.
Uplifting industrial synthwave.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Evocative music for the nostalgic future.
I like that. Why do you write music, sir?
Since I was little, I always had a beat in my head or some sort of melody or something, and I just needed a way to get that out of myself. And so I just kind of sat down. I tried some software. I think it was FL Studio back then. And just kind of started putting stuff together. I think YouTube was in its infancy, and so I learned a few things on there, and I honestly didn't know anything of what I was doing. But it was cool because I was able to kind of get some things out of my head and on paper, not literally, but figuratively. And I just kind of stuck with it. My early stuff was absolutely horrible, but I was really proud of it, and I had to start somewhere. So really, it's also a way that I get to worship God. It's a way I get to share my story. It's a way I get to engage with people and just be transparent. It's sonic therapy to me as well. So sometimes if I'm going through something, I'll just write. And not all the songs are released. Some things I keep to myself because they're just for me. And there's been songs I struggled to release, just wanted to go a certain route, but praying about it, seeking godly wisdom, seeking counsel from other people I trust. And I was able to release a specific song, for instance, and I think it went really well. I honestly don't know what God's doing with it, who he's reaching, and I'm okay with that. Sometimes I do when I go to festivals and play, so it's fun.
I've heard your testimony of your struggle with depression and with alcohol addiction. Would you be willing to share a little of that story?
Yeah, I have had depression since I was about 14, so it's been a minute. And that comes and goes. I'm still going through it off and on and just learning how to deal with it and seeking help and stuff. But it's just something that, I've had to deal with. And it's brought me to some dark moments. It's brought me to some realizations of things I need to know about myself. And I think even part of that, I got into alcohol, not even in my 20s. It was more in my early 30s. And I really drank a lot, mainly to escape. And I didn't really kind of realize it till the end. And it was about, I think it was July of 2020, it kind of came to a head. And God just kind of was like, okay, you're done. And I agreed. I lost a friendship over it and all that stuff. And but it's honestly one of the most freeing things is it's amazing to be free from it, because it was really bad. It was one of those things where it got to the point where I was hiding it. Most people didn't know I was dealing with it. My wife didn't know. My best friend didn't know. My wife knew I drank, but it wasn't. She didn't think it was as bad as it really was. And that's kind of one of those signs when you're addicted. It's you're hiding it, and it's oh yeah, this should be hey, I have a problem, But God really freed me from it, and it was one of those things that I had to modify my behavior. I had to I wouldn't go down the alcohol aisle or things like that, and God kind of gave me in my spirit, I would look at alcohol, even in the alcohol aisle, and I would start to feel nauseous, and it literally looked like sin to me. And so it's one of those things where it's like, he used that, to really deter me from it. And then after a while, it just didn't become something that I'm attracted to. And I think the last beer I had was in June of 2021. I had a beer. It was just one of those things I was practicing for a concert. And so yeah, I feel like I'm having a beer. And I went to Circle K and got a beer. I didn't want to get drunk. It was just like, I felt like, I like the taste or whatever. And I remember I brought it home, and I hadn't drank it in so long. I didn't think about it would affect me. And I got a buzz and I got really mad. And I was like, God, I know you didn't ask for this specifically, but I don't even want a buzz. So you can have this too. And I've not had a beer since, nothing alcohol, been completely free from that. And it's one of those things that he told me with my freedom, it's not just for me, and it's not something I'm embarrassed about. It's something I'm supposed to share, because it says in Revelation 19:10 that the testimony of Jesus is a spirit of prophecy. And so I believe that, hey, look, God freed me from this. He still does this. It's not like he's, out in some cosmic distance, just twiddling his thumbs. He really loves people. He wants to deliver people. We're not supposed to be stuck in addictions or whatever. And so I say that to encourage others that might be out there that are struggling with that or whatever addiction you have. Really, trust God that he can deliver you from that. He will deliver you from that. And it does require things that we do on our side. Like I said, I had to modify my thoughts, modify my behavior. Right now I can go to a restaurant and have a beer. I just don't want to. There's nothing attractive about it to me. Some people can have a beer and they can enjoy it, Christian or not. And I don't judge anyone on that. Just for me, it's sin. And that's my personal conviction. I know where that road led to, and it would have been a lot worse if I had kept going through it. So I'm so glad that he delivered me from that. And I just want to encourage anyone who is dealing with that, really trust Jesus, trust God to heal you from that. And, if you need help, if it takes AA or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that either. There's lots of different ways that we can do that, but God can deliver you, and he will.
Amen. For someone who's depressed, what are ways besides writing music that you've coped with that?
I know certain things about myself where it's if I don't get enough sleep, or even if I don't eat right, or if I don't drink enough water, even those physiological things can really affect it. And so certain things, I'll go to bed early, it's okay, even if I'm tired or not, it's I do need rest. I need sleep. It's one of those things I struggled with having a therapist most of my life, just because of a lot of bad experiences with that. But I'm even considering doing that just to kind of going forward to, because it won't hurt. I'm just talking to somebody. If it helps, great. If it doesn't, then I'm okay. I do talk to people about it. I am open about it. And, I talk to God about it. And like I said, I'm not perfect as far as how I've handled it every time. But, I'm getting better. I'm more open to things that I wasn't for the longest time.
What kind of music do you listen to?
Man, there's so many. I grew up in the 80s with hair metal and all that. So I was a rocker, and I didn't listen to this music or that music. And even though I would listen to popular music and hear Depeche Mode and all kinds of stuff, and so I got exposed to those when I was younger. And then, I don't know, it really depends on my mood. I can surprise myself sometimes. I think generally I like rock music. I like electronic music. I can listen to country. I can listen to rap or hip hop. There's been times where it's I just feel in a mood to listen to reggae, and so I'll listen to that kind of stuff. Funny story with that. My dad had cancer several years ago, and I had just gone through this whole situation of learning how to be grateful and how to be thankful. And so I got to the point where it's I was thanking God every day for something, that I hadn't thanked him for before. And my whole mindset changed. Thankfulness is huge. And I think we miss that a lot. But being thankful, you realize how good you have it and how good God is to you. And so during that season, my dad had called me. He was hey, I got this test and I got cancer. And at that moment, I'm I don't know what to think. I'm just okay. And it's one of those things where it's my dad gave his life to you. He's your son. He's a believer and all that stuff. And so I'm either way he wins. And he had the same stance. And so during that time, God actually used Three Little Birds by Bob Marley to minister to me. It's a completely secular song. Wow. It had nothing to do with cancer. It was just every little thing will be all right. And my dad's cancer free, by the way. So this is a good story. So
oh, good.
He's cured and all that stuff. So actually, I have been listening to Becoming the Archetype lately. which if you haven't heard that album, seriously, check it out. Jason Wisdom's awesome. I got to meet him at KCF this year. I like Relesser and Autumn's Descent and Delta S. And I mean, I'm always listening to their stuff. Bridge Shadows and all that. I still listen to a little bit of Nine Inch Nails. Sometimes I have to limit myself on that because it can get kind of depressing. Essenger is another one I like listening to. Just very synthwave and things like that. I'm actually excited because I get to see the Midnight in October, so I get to see them in person. So I'm looking forward. So I listen to synthwave and stuff like that too. So I like the stuff that I create, and I listen to a lot of stuff that is very similar.
Backstage with Mothership returns after this. Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership.
This hour of music is made possible in part by our business ministry partner, TPI Professional Print and Marketing Solutions, specializing in posters, flyers, banners, and more. Rethink your print. More info on the web at printingandaiken.com or by calling 803-226-7898.
Do you have a favorite album that you've released, or is your favorite always the newest one?
Well, I wouldn't say it's always a new one. I mean, it's also kind of like, choose your favorite child. It's kind of like, I've gotten better over time. So my earlier stuff isn't as polished or whatever. But, I did do Testament, which was before I was with the label ADWMR, which is actually my testimony. And it's one of those things that it's very personal, and it kind of like was where I really started going into industrial and some synthwave. Because before that, I was trying to do EDM poorly. But I would say I'm proud of everything I've created. I would say my current album is current favorite right now, because I love reading through Psalms. I love going through it, and I can relate to a lot of it. And kind of even the title, Modern Psalms, it's something that I took a page out of that, where it's like, you read tons of Psalms, and it's like David or whoever's like, they're going to kill me. They're after me. And like, chaos. And he's like, but God, you are amazing, and I worship you. You alone are worthy of praise, and you're amazing. It's like almost like bipolar. It's like two different people, and it's just like, wow, but it's real, it's relatable. And it's like there's times in my own life where it's like, man, there's times where I'm on the mountaintop and I'm praising God, and there's times where I'm just really depressed and just like, okay, even though I feel this way, it's like I'm still going to praise God. And that's where I kind of relate with it. So in that album, it kind of takes that whole twist and turn through things. To me, it's the most relatable recently. I love really everything I created.
In your new album, Modern Psalms, are there any particular songs that stand out the most to you?
As far as the songs, I mean, I opened up with praise, and it's probably one of my favorites on there because it is just a praise and worship song. And like even when I was playing at KCF, it's the one I was really looking forward to. It means a lot to me, where it's just simply glorifying God, and it's a very simple lyrics. It's not like super complicated.
Has your music changed since you've been on AD Windblown Media Records?
Yeah, I've learned a lot. We run it as a co-op. We run it as a discipleship. And so really, all of us are better than one of us. And so we will bounce ideas off each other. We will try things. So, even in the writing process, it'll be like, okay, here's this demo I have. And like, okay, you want to try this? And it's okay. Yeah, we'll try it. And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't, but usually it sticks. All of us have different talents and abilities and what we do. So I'm the engineer for the label if people want it. We have Wade, who heads up, social media and radio marketing, things like that. Josiah Brand of Firebrand, does a lot of our videos. I do some of the videos. Ash is kind of like the head producer, so he's got a lot of experience, and so we'll have things where it's like we're writing back and forth, and it's like, okay, try that, and we'll try it, and okay, so we're always tweaking something. So, it's one of those things like when I first started with the label, I started with Too Late, and I was like, hey, here's this demo that I created, and it had a really catchy part of it, and I thought it was the chorus, and he's like, that's a really great pre-chorus you got there. Where's the chorus? And I'm like, what do you mean? But he challenged me to write better, to really think of okay, this has really got to be his thing. It's got to be the chorus has to be bam, in your face, huge, catchy, all that stuff. But there's no question in the song, this is the chorus. And so I'd say starting with the label where I was and where I'm at now, I think I'm a lot better songwriter. I'm a lot better. I kind of know what he's going to ask before. And so so we always kind of joke with that, the inside joke. That's a cool pre-chorus you got there. Where's the chorus? You got to get past your own pride, or because you read a song, like, it's very personal, you know, it's like, this is a part of me. And it's like, someone's like, yeah, it could be better. You know, you're like, but it's good. Like, I don't want to change anything, you know, but it helps, you know, it really does help having someone and multiple people, not just him, that, you know, give you feedback and stuff like that. We give each other feedback and all that stuff. So I think collectively we've all gotten better as songwriters and everything. And I've still learned, even being an engineer, not that I'm the world's most perfect engineer. I don't think that exists, but I've gotten a lot better than who I used to be and what I was able to do. So.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. Asher Lesser was on here a few weeks back, and he was telling me about your new release, Modern Psalms, which is a solid album, by the way.
Thank you.
He had this little caveat. It's a little bit darker than his previous releases. So tell us about that.
Well, this one, like I said, it kind of goes through some personal stuff. It goes through some darker parts of stories and things like that. Like, you know, like I said, it starts off with praise, you know, with the song Praise and Praise and Worship. And then it kind of like towards the middle of the album, it gets into like Midnight. It gets into Countdown. Like Midnight is actually a story about a suicide attempt, you know, and just kind of being in that really dark hopelessness, you know, and even God coming to the rescue in the middle of that. And then kind of from like Countdown on, it kind of like starts shifting back to where it should be, you know, as a believer and where we should be with God, you know, and kind of refocusing on the right things. I think with depression, that's one of those things where it's like you start focusing on the wrong things and like being obsessed with the wrong things. And a lot of it's just, you know, not taking your thoughts captive. Depression, there's a bajillion different ways of how it works. So like that's not the only thing, you know, because it could be chemical, it could be emotional, it could be physiological. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And it's a story that kind of starts off, like I said, in the highs, and it goes really down low. And then it starts going back up. You know, by the end of the album, it's back up to praise. So it's almost like a sine wave. That was kind of on purpose. Like I said, it was one of those things where I wanted to emulate, you know, what the Psalms mean to me and how they relate to me, you know.
Are each of these songs based on a psalm, or is it just psalm-like?
It's psalm-like, yeah. I have a song I haven't released yet because I haven't finished it completely, but it actually is like literally the lyrics of, I think it's Psalm 42, which is really catchy, and I just haven't released it yet. So
true to my form, as it gets towards the middle of that album, when you get to Breathe and Midnight, you've got me right there.
Nice.
And I was like, that sounds like Jonathan Davis of Korn in some parts.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
I love it.
Thank you. I do a lot of different voices and things like that, so I had fun with that. There was a song I did for one of Rottweiler Records, Christmas, Felice Naughty Dog 8, and I'd written the song, and like I had like 4 days to like finish, like just from start to finish. I had to have it done, and so it was really fast, and I had it almost done, and I was talking to Ash about it. He's like, "You'd be really cool." He's like, "This will take it to the edge." Because I had like the voice like an octave of, you know, octave above, octave below kind of thing, typical 90s kind of sound. He's like, think Alice in Chains. And so I actually did that, and it turned out really cool. And I think I got like the attention of several other people. They're like, who is that? You know, and it was just like one of those one-off things. But I like doing that, and I will probably continue doing that. But yeah, I can do some of like emulations of like Jonathan Davis or things like that. It's fun.
Yeah, well, I really love the tension in those tracks. And then, like you said, then you bring it back to the praise. Quite interesting. I'm really enjoying listening to it. But we spoke about this before we started recording. Why I like to listen to an album from the beginning to the end, because it is a story. And I think it means a lot more when you can hear it in context.
Thank you for listening that way, too. Midnight, it's a very dark point in the album. And it is, like I said, it's based off a suicide attempt. And even in the lyrics, the chorus is like, you know, I hate my life, so I'll just give it up. It's the bridge where there's that prayer. It's like, okay, God, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I give it up to you. Like, it's, you know, you got to fix me, you know. And so it's the same lyrics in the chorus, but actually now because of that prayer, it's supposed to mean something different. And again, that was a really hard song to really consider releasing, because I was like, I don't want that to be the soundtrack of, you know, someone doing something terrible like that. You know, like I said, I sought godly wisdoms, talked to several people that I trust, and they're like, you know what, like, you can't control how someone's going to react to anything. I mean, you can release a song and it means something different to 50 different people. And so there's that. But they're like, you know what, but also, you know, let God actually minister to people through that. Release it because people are going to relate to it. With depression, like, you're never stuck. in a situation or season permanently. Like there's nothing permanent about it. Life just kind of ebbs and flows, and you have highs and lows and everything in between. And it's one of those things that it really, we have to realize that even in that moment where it's like everything seems hopeless or down or whatever, it's like we're not stuck. Like, well, life will continue and things will get better. We just, sometimes it takes longer. And sometimes, like I said, people face things that are just like, it looks impossible, but we also serve a God that is the God of the impossible. Like, I've seen him do so many things. It's like, of course, like only God could do that. Like logically that makes no sense, and I think it's one of those things where, like, in those moments, it's like you can cry out to God, whether you like follow him, whether you love him, whether you know him or not. Like, you really can call out and cry out to God, especially in those moments, because he is attentive. He does care about you. He does love you completely. Like, there's no question about it. And it says in like John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him will have everlasting life, and it's like he did that for us. It's not like, we have to earn it because I can't,
We're all in trouble then, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a merit-based thing. Like every other religion is merit-based. Like you have to please the deity. And if you mess up, like, well, all right, you're done. He knew we'd be done, if it wasn't.
We were done before we started.
Exactly. So it's one of those things that, yeah, like you can call out to him. You can cry out to him. And he's not gonna be like, well, you did this, this, and this. I don't know. He's like, no, I'm here to help. I love you. I love you. Like, if people understood the amount of love God has for people, it's so good. He's so good.
I've been through a lot of loss, and I appreciate you going to that dark place.
With my music, it's not one of those like, I'm just going to spoon feed and like, give everyone like everything in life is rainbows and butterflies, because it's not. It's like, eternity. Yeah. Like that'll be true. Like it's going to be great and beautiful and wonderful. But like right now we still are dealing with like a fallen world. We're dealing with life and things suck,
Backstage with Mothership returns after this. Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership.
After Modern Psalms, what can we expect next from you?
So yeah, the next thing I will be releasing is my album, Modern Instrumentals. It's actually the instrumental version of Modern Psalms, hence the name. But yeah, I like to release the instrumentals to kind of give a peek into the intricacies of the music, and also just something like be an easy backdrop or like a soundtrack or just kind of background music or whatever people want to get out of it. So that's going to be exciting.
What a great idea. I love that. Well, I want to talk to you about what you do for other artists. I know you produce.
So I've done a few things on soundbetter.com. There was someone who hired me to do vocals to a Stained cover song. So did that. Still waiting for that to be finished, but I did the labels and all, did the vocals and all that stuff. And then there was another guy I met through there, and he had seen that I put some stuff on there that I was familiar with, Cell Dweller and Circle of Dust and Fixed and all that stuff. And he was like, hey, I have this song. Can you make it sound like them? And so it was like one of those things where I was like, yeah, sure. So he sent me the stems and actually ended up mixing it. I did actually produce some stuff. I added some layers of vocals and just kind of really amped it up to 11. And he was really happy with it at the end. And so we ended up I think it was one of those things where we were watching one of the live streams. I think it was the Annex, as it was. And so he did a live stream, like concerts. He paid like $5 and you go watch it. So I thought, really cool what they did. And so I saw him on there and I was like, oh yeah. So we started talking. So we became Facebook friends and all stuff. So he's a friend of mine and he's in Russia, which is kind of cool, just kind of like talking to someone. And so I'm friends with him on on Instagram and Facebook. And so I see his reels and what he's producing. Pretty cool stuff. As far as the label, it's kind of whatever they need. Everyone's at different levels, what they can do, what they can't do. And like Josiah Brand, he's gotten good enough to mix and master and all the stuff. So I actually don't really do anything for him, whereas other artists, I'll help produce it. I'll help. Like I said, there's been times where I've done layers of vocals that are just kind of, they're there. We don't tell anyone I'm there. It's kind of like, So a couple Bridge Shadow. I think it was one of the Bridge Shadow songs I'm on. There's at least one Angel Machine song I'm on. And so usually what they'll do is they'll send me, like, once they have kind of like, here's what we're going to do, and then I'll have them send me all the stems. So I mix and master it, just, and so, yeah, just kind of, really kind of whatever they need. It's not like I only do one thing, one trick pony kind of thing. But, you know, I've learned a lot. And I've gotten a lot better. And it was kind of one of those things, like even recently I was laughing because, like, you know, I've been a fan of Clayton, of Cell Dweller, Circle of Dust, Scandroid, all that stuff. I mean, since like 1990s, really one of the few handful of bands that really got me into industrial back then. And I was listening to one of his songs that meant a lot to me this last season. And I was like, wow, you know, because I always thought like, okay, he like gets these like really loud. And I'm like, how do you get these so loud that they don't clip, you know? And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, you don't. So there's like, I'm looking at like these clips that it's just the counters rolling. I'm like, wow, you know? And so the song that I was listening to that really meant a lot to me, I'm actually working on my own cover of that. I don't know if or when it'll be released. It could be just for me. I don't know. But it was kind of funny. I was like, you know, how are you getting this so loud? It's like clipping all over the place. And I've got mine where it's like I've mixed and mastered it. And I think it clips like once, barely, you know, and it's actually louder than his. And I was like, all right, cool. So,
compress that sucker.
Right. Yeah. There's lots of compression, but it's, you know, you want the clarity and stuff too. You don't want it just to sound like garbage. So
yeah. I want to talk about the dad jokes.
Yes. I'd started like typing them up on Facebook like several years ago, and I was trying to do it like every day, and it was like for like 3 months, and it's just, you know, I'd kind of come and go. And I think 2020 or 2021, I think I missed like a handful of days the entire year. And I was typing them up. It was one of those things I was just like, you know, I think they're funny. They're not like life changing. A lot of them are just really stupid, but it's just like, okay, you know, it's a little bit of laughter or whatever. And so I think it was in like October, November last year, I started recording them on like Reels and TikTok and all that stuff. So just the short form video format. And I kind of got into doing that because I was trying to really get into TikTok with my music. And I was there's a friend of mine that she's gotten pretty popular on there. And she actually like sent me a video of like how she did it. And so I was like, okay, I'll try that. And, you know, I ended up starting a brand new TikTok and all that stuff. In the beginning, she's like, you have to like kind of like, this is your thing. This is who you are. And all your videos are related to that. You know, I wanted it to be about music, but I was like kind of already doing the dad jokes. So I was like, you know, I'm just going to do that just for fun. And it's like taken off. And it's like, you know, it's funny because like I went to KCF and I was talking to Matt Moore, you know, and he's just commenting because it's one of those, I don't know why I started doing it. I was like, I looked from the left to the right and like, then I tell the dad joke, you know, so that little head turn. Yeah. And so he's like, you know, even like he was introducing me at KCF this year and he's like, oh, wait, you got to start with the head turn. And he's like, you know, tells his dad joke, you know, I was like, it's so great, you know, and it's, like I said, it's just fun. I think just a lot of people have, you know, really enjoyed that. And it's kind of its own thing. You know, it doesn't have to be like related to music. If I can bring a little bit of joy into someone's life, even for like, you know, less than 10 or 15 seconds, it's worth it. You know, it's just fun.
That's great. All right. I'm going to need to have some samples of some of these jokes.
So for radio, you can't see my head turn, but you'll just have to imagine.
His head is turning.
Going to left to right. Yeah.
From left to right.
Like that.
All right.
What's the difference between black-eyed peas and chickpeas? Black-eyed peas can sing us a song. Chickpeas can hum us one.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of elevator music. It's so bad on so many levels. I lost 3 fingers in my right hand, so I asked my doctor if I would be able to write with it. He said maybe, but I wouldn't count on it.
That is great. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I apologize in advance for anyone who just did not enjoy that. You could send hate mail to Metallica. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's their fault.
Let's talk about touring.
When I started with the label, like I told them, like I'm just a studio artist only. I don't tour. I don't do live shows, any of that. They're like, that's fine. And then like a year and a half later, God's like, hey, guess what you're doing? And so my first show was at KCF. I was on second stage. And then my second show was KCF this year. And I was on main stage. And it's just one of those things that, you know, I love doing it. It's just like to be able to travel and stuff like that. Having the money to do it is not where I'm at yet. So I'm still saving up, and I actually lose a lot of money every time I go, but it's worth it. It's ministry, and God's used it for a lot of different purposes, and meeting the right people that need, you know, to talk with or pray with or whatever. So I would love to do it more. Absolutely. Love to. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. What's your favorite road snack?
My favorite road snack. Okay. So like, I think it's Trader Joe's. They have these like, it's like a cilantro lime spicy tortilla chip. They're really good. They're like in a green bag. I don't know the name of it. It's like cilantro lime something. And it's just magically delicious. They're really tasty though. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely recommend them.
Looks like our time is up.
Thanks for having me here, and I love talking with you, and this has been a lot of fun, and really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
It's been fun for me too, and I hope to see you out there on the road.
Thank you. Me too.
All right. Good night.
God bless you. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more great music, and check out my blog page on the Solid Rock Radio website for my guests' social media links. If you've missed any of my past interviews, you can find them uploaded to podcast.solidrockradio.org. Have a wonderful week, and let's be kind to one another.